The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
It's coming.
All these voices. All these voices.
They're not yours. You had no right to them when you were alive, and you have no right to them when you're dead. That's what it sounded like. Good, you know who I am. And you know I'm not playing. You're going to let those women go. In Jesus' name, you're going to let those women go.
Is there a demon here watching us right now? Watching us right now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Staring into the Abyss. I am your host, horror author James Hershey Jr., and with me, as always, my co-host, old boy James Ash. How you doing, brother?
Good evening, misfits, motherfuckers, sugar ladies, monster lovers, demon hunters. It's old boy. How's your fucking night?
What if I told you that nobody on Earth has to go hungry? What if I told you that no place on Earth has to deal with drought? What if I told you that we could turn every single desert on the planet into fertile farmland? What if I told you that we could heal our planet? That we could do it all? All of those things together. Now, you might say that I'm crazy, but it's my goal during this episode to do those things, to lay out a solution to how we can actually do those things. Our society is broken, but it's not irreversible. It can be fixed. The secret is not the way it's being done now. The secret is, instead of trying to shame people and tell people what to do, you inspire people to make that change. Today's episode is going to be titled, "We Can Terraform the Earth to Create an Absolute Utopia for All People." And I truly believe that. But like I said, we have to start inspiring people instead of chastising them. And you might think it's an undoable task, but we've done amazing things like this before. President Kennedy made it a national mission to get to the moon at a time when nobody believed it could be done. Our own people at NASA said that you're crazy, dude. We can't do that. But he inspired the entire nation, set a goal, an amazing goal, to make the world a better place. And we achieved it. We can do the exact same thing with this. Now, in tonight's episode, I want to go through a list of problems that need to be fixed. And I want to offer solutions to fix those problems. I want to explain to you how we can do some of the incredible things that I started the show talking about. Okay, so the first one, turning deserts into fertile farmland. Easy thing to do. Second one, no place on Earth has to have a drought. Another easy thing to do. There's no reason why there should be anybody on the planet that's dealing with drought and lack of water to grow crops, because 75% of the earth is water. Now, I know all the smart people listening, and that's a lot of you because our audience is pretty intelligent, most of you. A lot of you will say, well, James, yeah, it's 75% of the planet, but it's salt water, dude. And you can't drink salt water, and you can't use that on your crops because it'll mess them up. The salt will mess them up. Okay, I get that. But turning salt water into fresh potable water is not difficult to do. It's a simple process. It's just distillation. That's all it is, distilling the water. Hell, us rednecks up here in the mountains been doing it for generations, creating moonshine. It's the exact same process. They have things called desalination plants. And that's a fancy word. But essentially all they do is the same thing we do when we make shine. You boil the water, you create steam, you cool that steam, it condenses back down into water. In that process, the salt is left behind. And what comes out the other end once you cool it is fresh water that can be used for crops. It can be used to drink. It can be used for whatever you want. It's distilled water. It's completely 100% safe to drink, 100% safe for your crops. Now the problem is, the reason we don't do that more often is because there's not a lot of money in it. And unfortunately, that's one of the problems with our society, is it's driven by greed. Not just this country, the entire world. Because we prioritize the wrong things. But we can absolutely turn ocean water, salt water, into fresh water to supply the entire world with as much fresh water as they need. If we decided to, and we made it a priority, we could put desalination plants on the East Coast, the West Coast, and the Gulf of Mexico. Other countries could do that as well on their coast that have coasts. And as a planet, we could create as much fresh water as we want. And there's no reason why anything has to be dry. We could supply all of these countries. We could supply ourselves with plenty of water that's clean and safe. Turning the deserts into farmland, that's a big one, but it's absolutely doable. Basically, look at what a desert is. It's sand. Okay? All you need to do, that's dead soil. All you have to do is make that soil live again. Okay? It's a simple process. A lot of us people in the country, we do it with our gardens all the time. You're simply composting and putting organic matter on top of that sand. As that organic matter heats up and breaks down, it creates new soil. That's how topsoil is made. By composting, you're just accelerating that process. So we could start a national program of composting. I mean, hell, we're already sorting our trash to recycle in a lot of places, right? So when you're sorting your trash to recycle, you're putting your paper and your cardboard products in one bin. You're putting your metal products in another bin, your plastic products in another bin. All you simply need to do is add a bin for organic matter, anything organic. Any kind of vegetable matter, lawn matter, wood matter, stuff like that, organic stuff. Make a separate bin for that. And then you collect that stuff, you ship it off to the desert areas, wherever that is in the country, or the world if you want to do it globally, and you start laying that organic matter out on the ground. And it will start to break down and create soil. Over time, with the heat of the desert and the sheer massive amount of compost that you're going to have, because if you get the whole country doing it with their recycling, wow, that's a lot. And you're going to be able to cover that desert in a pretty short amount of time with organic matter. And as it starts to break down, it will create brand new topsoil that can be used for farming. Now, once you create that topsoil, you have to plant a cover crop on it. That way it doesn't blow away. That's what happened during the Dust Bowl, is a bunch of people came in to grow corn because the price went way up on corn. So all these people say, hey man, let's do this. We can get this land real cheap. Let's grow some corn. They grew it, they harvested it, and then they bailed. They were just in it for the cash. They didn't put down a cover crop. And when winter came and the winds picked up, there was no cover crop to hold that soil down. So all that soil got blown away. And literally you had soil from California that was blowing all the way to New York City and Washington, D.C. on the steps of the Capitol building. That's pretty crazy. But that absolutely happened. Now, the way they fix that is by planting a ton of trees. That held the soil down. And it fixed the problem. So, as you compost the desert, you're going to plant cover crops. And the cool thing is, you don't have to wait for that compost to turn into soil to do it. You can literally lay down a heavy layer of compost, and you can plant directly into that compost with cover crop. Now, you don't have to do trees if you don't want to. You can do any kind of crop you want. You can literally start growing food immediately into the compost on the desert. That root system will go down into that compost. As that compost decays, it will create topsoil. And you just keep putting more compost on top of it. And you keep doing that process. And you will turn that desert into some of the best farmland you've ever seen. Now imagine the hundreds and hundreds and thousands of miles of desert in the world. Imagine all of that being turned into farmland where you can grow healthy, beneficial crops to feed the world. Nobody ever has to be hungry again. There will be such an abundance of food that it'll be so cheap for everybody to eat. It won't be like it is now, where people are trying to eat proper, but they can't because it's just too damn expensive. You won't have that issue because you'll literally have such an abundance that everybody could have plenty to eat at a fraction of the cost that we have now. It's a program that will pay for itself through the sales of the food. You know, it's a win-win for everybody. So you could end world hunger. Within the span of, I'd say 5 years, it would be done. And literally you could be growing more crops than you could ever hope to consume. And then you just take the edible part of that plant you're growing and you ship it off for food for everybody. And the inedible parts you leave right there to decompose along with your compost to add to the soil. As you build that soil up, all the little microorganisms are going to go in too, all the bacteria, all the little worms, all the whole ecosystem that soil needs to be vibrant and alive and to work will be there. Another issue we have to talk about is industrial farming, factory farming. It's a problem. It's a real problem. And a lot of people say it's a necessary evil because we have to feed everybody. But the way they do it is not the only way to do it. I mean, there's farms out there who are doing sustainable farming to where they're doing a no-dig method, a no-plow method. They're not plowing up the soil and killing the ecosystem. They're planting directly into like wood chips and compost, just like I'm talking about doing in the desert. So they're not disturbing that ecosystem underneath the ground. They're not killing it. And when you have a vibrant, rich soil and a good ecosystem, you don't have to worry so much about all the fertilizer and all that stuff that you're pumping in that ends up washing off into our ocean and really causing an issue and polluting our water. You don't have to use that anymore. You don't have to worry about as much of the pesticides and herbicides and all that kind of stuff. Because if you have a rich, vibrant soil and a rich ecosystem, a lot of that works itself out. Because it's a balance. And there are things that eat the things that eat your food, if that makes sense. Another thing we have to talk about is GMO foods. Okay, all these companies, not just people like Monsanto that create these seeds and stuff like that, but also a lot of your food companies that are pumping massive amounts of preservatives and chemicals into your food that are causing cancer and horrible, horrible health effects for us. It's not cool. And the reason that happens is because government organizations such as the FDA have sold out. Completely sold out. They're not interested in our safety anymore. They're not interested in healthy, good food for us. They're lining their pockets. They are allowing the companies who are killing us to write the legislation. Okay? They're writing the rules that they have to follow. They are accepting their studies instead of doing independent studies. to find out what this stuff does. There's a lot of things that are allowed to be put in our foods here in America that the rest of the world, even little what you would consider third world crap hole countries, even they don't allow some of this stuff in their food. But we do. And that's because our FDA doesn't do its job. The sad truth is, our entire government is corrupt. None of them are looking out for you. None of them have your interest at heart. None of them. Now, another big issue that everybody talks about is climate change. Okay, now I'm not going to get into whether climate change is man-made or if it's natural or if it's real or if it's a hoax. Okay, because that's a whole show unto itself. It's not constructive right now to get into that. But what I will say is if you are somebody who is worried about climate change, the very best thing you can do to combat climate change, plant a tree. Trees sequester more carbon than any of their stupid little laws are going to do. Okay? If you turn the deserts into fertile farmland, all of those crops, all of that greenery, all of that breathes in carbon. Okay? It sequesters carbon. It feeds on it. It takes that carbon into the plant and gives off oxygen. And when it takes that carbon into the plant, it sends it down into its soil, right, through its roots. And it gets sequestered down in that soil. So it's not in the atmosphere anymore. So if you do my idea of changing the deserts into farmland, which is very, very simple to do, if you do that, you're also going to solve the issue of there being too much carbon in the climate. It's going to be solved because a lot of that carbon, that excess carbon that everybody's worried about, will now be in the soil, and the plants will be feeding on it, and it'll make much, much better crops. So that issue would be solved. It'd be done. You wouldn't have to do stupid things like try to switch everything over to electric vehicles and green energy. Now, I'm all for every form of energy, okay? I'm not saying that green energy is stupid. I think it's a good idea when it works, right? In small amounts. But the scary truth of it is that if you take the entire battery capacity of the entire world, that's every battery in the entire world of every type, watch batteries, AA batteries, D batteries, C batteries, every battery, all the way up to the big battery banks that they put in cars, every battery on Earth. We only have enough storage capacity to run everything for like 7 minutes. That's not good. Okay? They're talking about within the next couple decades to be able to up that to about 11 minutes. So imagine you're relying on wind and solar, okay? And sun isn't shining and the wind ain't blowing for more than 11 minutes. You're screwed. You don't have the battery capacity to keep up with that. We've already seen that happen, where there's been blackouts and brownouts in a lot of the country of these places that are using green energy. Okay? We're not there yet. We don't have the technical capability to use it the way we want to use it. Okay? You cannot operate cargo planes and cargo ships on green energy. It doesn't work. It doesn't have enough thrust to get a giant cargo plane up in the air. Okay, you're not going to be able to ship stuff places without gas. So this idea of green energy saving the day, this idea of electric cars are the answer, is not the answer. Because then there's also the idea of, okay, how do you make the batteries? Well, you make the batteries by mining a bunch of rare earth minerals, which tears the planet apart, right? If you've seen one of these mines, it's awful. And a lot of them use slave labor in other countries, little kids who are barely being paid anything and being beaten when they don't work. That's what's going on to create those batteries. Then once you get them done, what do you do with them? They don't work forever. They only work for a small amount of time. And once they're done, you can't do nothing with them. You know what happens to them and all the windmill, the wind turbine blades and all that stuff? They get buried. There's giant graveyards of this stuff. They get buried, and it takes 1,000 years or more for them to decompose. So you're creating a worse problem than you're trying to solve. You talk about wanting to save the environment. You talk about wanting to save the animals in the ecosystem by using this green energy, but solar farms kill everything. Everything there dies because of the intense heat. So you're killing all the little animals, you're killing all of the insect life, all of the ecosystem of that area is gone. Your wind turbines kill tons of birds all the time. They're not better. Now, I'm not saying don't use them. Like I said, I'm for every form of energy. Okay? But it's not the answer. The answer is not to destroy your economy and to take away gas products, which run everything in the world. That's what keeps our civilization going. And there is no replacement that works. So the answer is not to destroy our civilization, to try to save on the amount of carbon going into the atmosphere. The answer is to create more things, trees, crops, greenery, that will suck that carbon out of the atmosphere and sequester it, so that you can continue to use petroleum products, you can continue to have things that actually work, and you can continue to have your economy and your standard of living that you're used to. You don't have to give all that up to save the planet. You simply have to plant more stuff to save the planet, okay? The next thing I want to talk about is the ocean, okay? The ocean is so important, and we are destroying it, plain and simple. The pollution is definitely an issue that runs off into the ocean. That's a lot of that stuff from industrial farming. You also have toxic stuff that gets put in the ocean. Japan's kind of talking about doing it now with the nuclear plant where the tsunami hit it and it melted down a little bit. They're talking about dumping all of that wastewater in the ocean, which is radioactive. That's not a good thing. But you also have commercial fishing, which is causing a real issue in the ocean. Now, the main issue that I see with commercial fishing is a certain type of commercial fishing where they literally drop a net and they drag it along the bottom. And that catches a lot of fish for them. And it feeds people. Okay, but the problem is when you're dragging that net across the bottom like that, you're also destroying all the coral down there. And when you destroy all the coral, that is destruction of a vast ecosystem that supports all of those fish. So in the areas that they're doing this kind of fishing, you are destroying the coral, you're destroying the fish's capability to live in that area. You're creating a dead sea there. So what happens is once that coral's gone and it doesn't come back, the fish leave too, because there's nothing there for them to eat. There's no shelter for them there. So they end up moving on. And so what you're doing is you're creating dead zones in the ocean to where before there was vibrant life. And that's not cool, because if the ocean dies, we die. Plain and simple. We cannot survive on this planet without it. So we've got to take better care of our ocean. And that can be done simply by not fishing like that anymore. Okay? You can still do fishing, but what I would say you do is you kind of only fish in certain areas and give the other areas a rest so that they can kind of regenerate and just keep kind of moving it around. So you don't have fishing going on everywhere all at once. That way you have areas of the ocean that are able to repopulate, regenerate, and you'll get those numbers back up fairly quickly. But you've got to stop dragging the bottom like that, because it's killing it. Plain and simple. It's killing the ocean. Now, one thing a lot of people will say, and I'm sure when Old Boy comes on, he'll say this as well, because he said it in past conversations we've had, is that you're not going to be able to get everybody to do this stuff. People are not going to go along with it all the time. And that's 100% true. You're not going to force anybody to do it. And you shouldn't have to force people to do it. That's what gets back to what I was talking about at the beginning of, instead of mandating and instead of shaming people and telling them you have to do this or you're a bad person, you approach it a different way. Okay, you try to inspire people to make the world a better place. And you set a goal, like Kennedy did, of getting to the moon. Hey man, our goal is we're going to do this project where we're going to turn this desert into a lush, fertile farmland. And we can do it. And you get people stoked about that, man. You get people excited about it, like Kennedy did with the moon landing, right? We can do this. We're going to do this as a nation. We're going to show everybody how great America is. You're going to get everybody on board. Okay, the liberals will be on board because they're all about saving the planet. They're all about the environment, right? They're going to be stoked. You're going to get a lot of the rednecks on board because nobody loves nature more than rednecks. Dude, we hunt and fish to feed ourselves. There's nobody on the planet that loves nature like we love nature. We rely on it for our survival. We take care of it. You know, a lot of people down hunters and fishermen. They say that we're terrible people, but we're the best stewards of the environment on the planet. We manage the population of the animals. We love those animals. We make sure that they survive. If you don't hunt them, the population gets way out of control and they starve. It's necessary. Okay? I grew up hunting and fishing. And I ate everything I caught or killed. Right? I don't hunt anymore. The reason I don't hunt anymore is because I don't have a need for that meat anymore. Because I am a vegetarian now. I eat a little bit of fish and a little bit of dairy. So I guess the technical term is like pescatarian or something like that. But I don't eat normal meat anymore, just fish. And it's not because I have some moral problem with eating meat. I have no issue if you want to eat meat. That's on you, dude. I love meat too. It's freaking delicious. But the reason I went vegetarian is for my own health. My doctor basically told me after all my testing and everything that I was going to probably be dead in a year, that I was heading towards a massive heart attack because I have not eaten well my whole life. And so in order to correct those problems, at first I went vegan, totally vegan, for like a month or two. And that corrected all of my numbers. All of my numbers are great now. I'm no longer at risk of any heart attacks or strokes or anything like that. I'm awesome now. My numbers are great. But then through discussing it with my doctors, they kind of told me that eating fish would be a very good thing because the omega-3 fatty acids can repair the damage that's been done to the heart and help to clear out those arteries and everything even better. So now I eat fish again, which is cool because I love eating fish. And so basically what I'm doing is for my health. Okay, I'm doing it to save my life and to be here for my family, which is an important thing to me. No judgment on you if you eat meat. Feel free, But for me personally, it was something that I had to do for my health. And to be honest with you, I feel better than I ever have. I feel great. I've lost a lot of weight. I'm really, really healthy now. All my numbers are great. I have way more energy. I just feel amazing. So I'm cool with my decision. But once again, I'm not judging you, man. You do you. You know what I mean? I love you either way. Whatever you want to do is what you want to do. But I would say that if you're somebody who's dealing with health problems like that, you might want to give it a shot. You might want to look into it a little bit because for me, it worked wonders. It really changed everything for me. So I don't hunt anymore because I don't eat the meat. And if I don't eat it, I'm not going to kill it. That's always been my motto. But I have no issues with anybody who does because it's a very necessary thing. And it's something that I grew up doing and that I really love doing. I mean, to this day, I still go out sometimes. I don't shoot anything anymore because I don't need to eat it. But I like to go out with my camera and just sit there in the tree stand and take pictures of the things. Whether it's a deer or bear or whatever comes along, I like to take pictures of them and film them. And I mean, they're majestic, amazing animals, and I love to look at them. So those are a couple of things that we can do to really change things for people, okay? We need to start prioritizing helping and loving rather than get mine and screw everybody else. You know what I mean? There's no reason anybody on this planet has to be hungry. There's no reason anybody on this planet has to be homeless. There's no reason for that stuff. And I think that if we lead as Americans like we always did in the past, other countries will follow. You know, that's kind of the way it works. If we step out and we say, we're going to do this amazing project, we're going to start here and we're going to do this. We're going to turn the desert into farmland, or we're going to build desalination plants and start providing fresh water for our country and for, you know, the world, but definitely our country. I mean, California basically has to take water from other states in order to survive because they don't have enough water. But they're right next to the damn ocean. So if they built some desalination plants there, they could create their own water. They wouldn't have to take water from Nevada and from other states. You know, there's no reason they should have to. There's enough money for us to do it if we prioritize it above the corrupt crap that's going on now. We shouldn't be giving foreign aid to countries that hate us and want us dead. That doesn't make any sense. We shouldn't have bases all over the world that we have to constantly supply and bear all that extra cost. Why? We do so that we can prevent war and so that we can have a strategic advantage to go to war. But why do we have to be at war all the time? I don't want to kill people. I would like in my life just to have a little bit of time where we weren't at war with somebody. Wouldn't that be great? Because most of the countries we go to war with, I don't have no problem with those people. They've never done a damn thing to me. You know, and when you talk to those people, they're the same as we are. They just want their children to have a better life. They want a good future for their family. They want to live in peace and harmony. It's the governments that want this crap, that want the war, not the people. Now, you have some countries where they're brainwashed, like, you know, North Korea, where they think that their leader is God himself, and they're taught that we're the enemy and all this kind of stuff. So that's a little bit different when you're dealing with brainwashing like that. But most of the countries in the world, the people that live there, they don't want any problem with us. They don't hate us. You know, in the countries that do, sometimes it's because of stuff that our government has done, which sucks. Because our government does not represent us. You know, nobody here wants to bomb innocent people. Nobody here wants to go over and take over other countries and do terrible stuff. And the sad truth is that we do. You know? And the problem is, in this country, it's too much left and right all the time. Okay? I love America. I am a conservative. I am a believer in the Constitution. I'm a believer in absolute freedom. So I am not, by any means, some lefty kind of person that's going to down America. I love this country. But the truth of it is our government is corrupt, and they've done stuff that's not cool. And they've done stuff that has caused other countries to hate us. And that's just the truth. You know, you can be mad at me if you want for saying it, but I'm going to tell you the truth. And this is coming from somebody who grew up and spent my entire life in the military. I love this country. I would die for this country. That's how much I love this country. But it's the truth. You know, we can fix it. If you just do those couple things that I talked about tonight, you're going to make life better for everybody on the planet. You can end hunger completely. You can end drought completely. You can end the whole climate change thing completely. You can fix it all easily. The reason it's not being fixed now is because they don't want to fix it. That's the truth. Because I could fix it. It's that damn easy to fix. I've told you tonight how to do it already. That'll fix like 3/4 of our problems right there. If you just do those things. They don't want to fix it. They're not interested in making life better for you. They're interested in lining their own pockets. They're interested in power. And some of them are interested in depopulation because they think that we're too populated. You know what depopulation means? That means a lot of you people got to go. Scary thought. But look at their own documents, they say it. Okay? We got to love each other. We got to treat each other like family that we are. We got to stop the nonsense. We got to stop hating each other over stupid stuff. And we got to work together. If we work together, we can change this planet. We always talk about terraforming Mars, terraforming other planets, and making them places we can live. We can terraform this planet easily and create a utopia, create a new Garden of Eden where everybody has enough to eat. Everybody is doing good. Nobody has to go hungry. Nobody has to go to bed at night wondering if they're going to eat the next day. That's something worth doing, and it's doable. I'm going to throw over to Old Boy. I want to get his opinion and see what he thinks, and then I'll be back after he gets done to wrap up. Old Boy, go ahead, brother.
Thank you, James. So, we need to change stuff we do for terraforming and through the earth and how to save it from us destroying it, and farming and industrial farming and drilling and pollution and toxic and polluting the waters. Well, the first thing we need to do is, I know that there's been stuff that happened in Japan with the leak of the nuclear plant. They want to dump the water they had there, and because after that tsunami, and people are against that, because you got to realize radiation doesn't stay just in one place. It's in water, so it's going to go over the world. I mean, I get it, they have to, but they want to do this, and and a lot of countries have been pissed off about this. We need to stop polluting our waters, man. First thing, toxic waste, we do it, every country does it. Dumping in the oceans for over probably a couple hundred years now. Especially toxic stuff, that's probably been the last 70, 80 years, maybe more. But throughout the last 400 or 500 years, when the industrial era is becoming bigger and bigger with boats, steamboats, we've been overfishing, we've been destroying the population of fish. It's not what it was when we first were here. There wasn't as many people. You remember, there's almost 7.9 billion people. There's almost 8 billion. It's around that. So we're going to eat everything eventually. Not maybe at this moment, not in the next maybe 100, 200 years, but I know we're helping out. We restock fish and stuff like that, but we're getting more and more people. The more and more we're going to eat. We keep putting buildings up that don't need to be built. That, every time we put ground, you're making everything hotter around. With people's got to drive there, you're using exhaust. America isn't the problem. We have some issues, but you can't make other countries like China and North Korea, who rely on fossil fuel, to change anytime soon. Even with that deal with the climate thing, they weren't going to change for 15 years, and it's even just starting. They're not going to care. They don't care. They don't believe it. Some countries don't believe, just because we do, that we need to change everything. They don't care. Yes, we are the leader in the world for now. China's number 2, guys, and they don't see the same things we do. A lot of problems is people think that they care what we think about them on social media and in the American news. They don't. Trust me. They don't care. They haven't cared for sorry guys, let me get that going. They don't care about what we think. We can't control what they do. We can't tell them how we can make sanctions. They're going to do what they want. North Korea does what they want. Trust me on that. In Iran, drilling, they're not going to stop. That's where they get all their money. That's a lot of it, majority of it. Russia, same thing. They don't care what we think. If they would care, they would stop going in the Ukraine right now. They don't care what we think. That's an issue that we can't change. We can help, yeah, we have changed a lot. Recycling, aluminum cans, glass bottles, making stuff out of recycled usables, and reusing them, that's a big step. Taking away from pollution with cars, with electric cars and gas both, and then they're doing electric gas, but without gas. But the problem is, like, they had the issues with those big storms. They don't work. I mean, we got to figure out how to make them work. 90% of the time they do, and it's a good idea, but they got to make them where they go farther. You know, some of these only go 300 or 400 miles. Where a tank of gas, they can get 5 or 6 on my car. Once they fix that problem, like I know they do with the, the half cars, they have half gas, half car, you know, so you can get 400 on your battery and then 4 or 5 on your gas tank. But they got to figure out somewhere to just electricity, but we can run 1,000 miles, you know, a gallon, or not a gallon, but like you would say a gallon if you were using gas. You know what I mean? Sorry, I had to rephrase that. I don't want people to think that I know what I'm talking about, because honestly, I know a little bit about this stuff, but this is more of a James Hershey thing. Again, I know some of it though. I know everybody knows what's going on. Climate changing, I have my opinions on how rapidly it is. There's proof on that. It is changing. I know some of it's using political on both sides. One's making it bigger, one's making it smaller, and there is an issue going on. It is getting hotter. It is getting different weather. But some people are saying we're going to go into an ice age. So, I mean, I'm not sitting here saying nothing's happening, because it is. It used to be cold here. In the desert, it used to snow, rain. It's starting to do that again. It's weird. It's doing what it used to do 15 years ago. But there's been 250,000 more people who moved up here since then. So, an example is when I moved here in the 80s, the middle 80s, 85, 86. You could see where I live up in the desert. You can see the mountains perfectly. And there's a place called the Cajon Pasture going down the hill. That's what we call it. Down to like San Bernardino, Rancho Cucamonga, down to LA. And you couldn't see smog. Now you can't. You can't even see. It's not even clear in the morning anymore. That shows you the difference of how it's changed in 30-something years since I've been here. 37 years. 38, whatever. And it used to get cold all the time. It gets cold here. Like last year, it finally snowed a lot. It snowed a couple times, but we used to get snow, man. And the craziest sounds in the desert, used to get like 5 or 6 degrees here. Maybe we get in the teens sometimes. 20 degrees. We get rain now lately because the last 2 years it's changed. And like I said, that's what I think of the climate. Now, I'm not saying anything bad about any of these countries. They just have a difference of opinion. They live a different culture than we do. And that I wasn't saying nothing bad about the Japanese. They had that, you know, with the tsunami, they have to let go of that water, but it's all radioactive. It's going to go into the ocean and hurt everything there, even us, even people. That's what people don't realize. We have a nuclear holocaust. If everybody decides to shoot their nukes, we're gone. And even if you survive, you're not going to be able to come up to the earth for hundreds of years, maybe even more. Live in a shelter the rest of your life, like Fallout. You guys played Fallout? You know what I'm talking about then. You know, it's going to be like that. I think that's going to happen one day. I hope it doesn't. Trust me, I really hope it doesn't. I don't know if it's going to go total nuclear. I think a couple will go off, but I think it's going to do things that we don't expect. Or we're going to have kind of some like I don't think a zombie apocalypse, but kind of like the 28 days later thing, where these things turn. Kind of like The Last of Us. Not like Walking Dead, where the dead come to life. And no, I'm talking about like they turned into this stuff. And there's actually a real virus that can do this. Now I'm getting into the sci-fi and the paranormal part of this, because everybody's, what the hell are we talking about this? There's nothing. You guys watch Lost of Us, the series. Play the game, too. It's pretty cool. It's about a fungus, and it's a real one. It goes into ants now. That's why they said blow everything up, because once you get it, except the girl's got she's got like she's immune to it in her blood. It's weird. That's why they're trying to catch her so they can save the world. And he's protecting her. So watch the show if you guys can. And that's how we can. We got to quit dumping stuff. We got to quit overfishing. We got to quit over killing everything. It's not just here. Like here, when we kill deers, most people are repurposing. They make where they can mate so they get more and more deer here. But there's poachers who kill for just the antlers or make money, just like they do in South Africa. In Africa and in certain parts, they kill animals for their skins. And they don't even they just kill the animal and to take a picture of it. That shit pisses me off. I'm a gun owner, guys. I'm cool with hunting to a point, but when people are doing it just for trophy, like with lions, they'll go out to like a safari thing and just kill a lion that's dying. It's like 30 years old, and then they'll take a pet. Shit pisses me off, and it just irritates me. Just like elephants, they'll kill elephants and just take their tusk. That shit pisses me off more than you'll ever know. I love animals. I'm an animal person, and I know James feels the same way. He hates poachers because he hunts. Killing an animal for nothing, but to just take a picture, take their skin, is ridiculous. And not to eat the meat. That's what you're supposed to do. Like elephants, you know, killing game and then just to take a picture or take their tusk, it's ridiculous. Like they do with like lions, they take their fur and leave the body. It's ridiculous. Poachers irritate me. Now, with changing the air quality and stuff like that, quit using a lot of pesticides. But it's hard with farming. I mean, they use certain things. I think we're making better stuff now because, you know, 100 years ago, but we still have the stuff like pesticides and stuff they sprayed and how I think my dad's what do they call it? Pesticides. Asbestos. Sorry, that was back in the 70s, 80s, and 60s. Man, it's still in some of these buildings, and it's killing people now. You know, there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, we have to learn from what we've done. We have to learn from the history, because history repeats itself when we don't change. We're going to destroy ourselves one day, and it's going to be not a pretty sight. And it's going to be sad. It's sad to see that we're going to destroy ourselves where we could have saved ourselves. The ocean, 95% of it hasn't been searched. They say we can live in the ocean. We can fix a lot of our problems if we get rid of greed. I know you have to make money, but we don't have to have homeless and starving people. James will even tell you that. We can make gardens, we can grow stuff, we can solve a lot of our problems. And it's not going to, because there's no money to be made out of it. It's going to cost money. So there's no profit, then a lot of people don't care. They pretend to, and they mean well, but they don't care. Trust me. I don't care what anybody says. I don't know what politicians. Yeah, they tell you that so when they get voted, they'll change a little bit. They'll throw you guys a bone, and then they don't care anymore. They'll go to something else. The roads need to be fixed. Schools need to be fixed. Bridges. They'll go to something that matters, that they think matters. I'm not saying the world doesn't matter. It does. We have a lot of issues in this, and pollution and the climate is one of them. But you know, let's be honest. If we keep getting hit with some of these tornadoes and tsunamis, we can get these big tsunamis coming in, and no more Long Beach, no more New York, or not saying it would be gone, but it could happen. It's not impossible, guys. Even if it doesn't destroy it, it's going to mess up these cities for a while. It's going to be crazy what could happen. We need to start realizing we've done a lot of damage. The rainforest is one. That's something that had nothing to do with that. These companies would go in and cut down these trees, killing these animals to make paper and all kinds of other crap and use the wood. And the rainforest we need it. That way it makes oxygen. And you keep cutting these trees down and burning them like they do. And like he was saying, these commercial companies, farming. Oh, we need to make cities. We need to make Denny's. We need to make McDonald's. We need to make carports. We need to make buildings. We need to make Sears. We need to make no, you don't. You don't. That's the problem. We've become too reliant on things. I don't know how a lot of us are going to survive. I can. James can. But if something really happens, I know people are oh, no, it can, bro. I'm telling you, it can happen. Don't think that. It can. Things that people said didn't happen that are happening. I'm just going to let you know, we might do a show about it, but there is a big company, a news company, it's saying that they're going to let classified pictures, photos, and videos of documents about aliens that the Pentagon are. So I'm telling you right now, it's going to blow your guys' mind. And this is just something, again, we'll do a show. I'm just leading up to another show. We always do this. It's going to change a lot of things, guys. So I'm just showing it that wasn't existed. Climate wasn't going to happen. We just have a lot of people in this world. And 100 years, we'll worry about it then. Now we are worrying about it. Another 50 years, we're going to be really worried about it if we don't change certain things. And James will agree with me on that. There's things this is very fixable, but we'll see if people are going to stick to it. You never know. People don't care. I'm not saying everyone, but there's a lot of people who don't care about this. The normal person, they care to a point, but that's not matters. Paying my bills, paying my rent, going out for the weekend, taking the kids out, going to school, that matters. My job, that's first. And it is important, guys. We need to change how everything's going. Some of the glaciers are melting, not as fast as some people are saying, but it is happening. I know somebody's going to argue, oh, it is, we're going, you know what? If it's that bad, and it could be, I'm not going to say it's impossible. I know some people are going to argue this. We need to change things, maybe to keep it from happening. We need to start using our brains and stop arguing, because we're not getting anywhere. We have too many chiefs and not enough soldiers. And I'm not seeing that in a bad way. We should listen to everything we've been told. But if we keep arguing and bickering all the time, we're never going to get anywhere. It's just a proven fact. Everybody has too much of a difference of opinions to the beliefs that they'll die for it. And I'm going to tell you, sometimes 90% of it's not even real. Even if it is and you find out, you're not going to believe it anyway. Some people just are that stubborn. They don't care. They'd rather believe a beautiful lie than the ugly truth. I've already said it before, guys. You know that. And again, guys, I'm not saying that it's going to change all in one night. It's going to take years. We can do better, though. We see what has happened in the past. We are destroying slowly and decaying, and it can be changed. We've done horrible things in the past, all of us. With wars, killing, pollution, bombs, weapons, money, greed. I'm just saying all together, guys. Not just one thing. I know we all have difference of beliefs and all different opinions, but I think we need to start realizing we need to start working together. It's not going to be everyone. Everybody's going to be in their own world. That's how people are. They're afraid of change. They're afraid of what they're scared of. Fear. They're fear. They've been told something. They believe that's going to be what it is. It doesn't matter. Hey, me and James are totally different of belief. You know what I believe in, and you know what he believes in. But we get along. I'm not sitting after we get off the phone and get around in a circle with a bunch of people and make pentagrams and sacrifice animals and humans. That's bullshit that Hollywood, and there is people who've done it. Don't get me wrong. There is a small percentage of people who do that. Just like in every religion. Trust me, I don't even want to go there. All religions have their bad people and their good people. We'll just say that. But I think that's a lot of the problem, is people's beliefs get in the way of the reality. And I'm saying with everybody's. And I'm not just saying religion or just their belief of what they believe. They don't even have to believe in anything. They just believe this and they believe that. And that's fine. But not everybody is. Not everybody agrees with you or me or anybody or James. That's just how life goes. Until we realize that we're always going to have differences of opinion. Some people ain't going to like it. Some people are going to say this. Some people are going to get mad. That's just the way it is. You're not going to force people to think away. You might be able to try. It's not going to work. They're always going to push back. So with pollution, fixing the farming area, getting rid of all these buildings. I'm not saying everything, but we have to have some stuff. But we overbuilt, and that's what's happened. And we're overpopulated. And we overeat. And there's nothing you can do. We can't force people to change. I mean, you can make every law you want, but we can't control what another country does. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying nothing bad about any of these countries. They have a different beliefs than we do. They think different. Their communities come before our beliefs, our our amendments, our freedom of speech. That we're a lot of companies and a lot of countries don't agree with us. You got to realize this is what people get messed up with the internet. Freedom of speech doesn't work for that. Yes, a little bit, but you realize it's international. They don't have the same laws as we do. Facebook doesn't just go with the United States. It goes throughout the world. I'm just showing you an example. All these social... So when you say something, that doesn't mean freedom of speech is going to protect you. The internet was made after the Constitution. The Constitution has nothing to do with the internet's all, and some things it can, but some it won't. But it's not. See, the problem is you can't say, well, freedom of speech. The problem is Facebook is all over the world. And Instagram and all this. It's different. They don't have the same rules and laws as we do. And that's where people get the mistake at. And I know I don't want to get into this, but that's a whole different thing. But I think we can change if we start working together a lot better. Start working on the air, not having so many pollutions in the air. Cars, we can fix that problem down the line. It's going to take longer than 20 years, guys. It's going to take a while. But we can fix this. We start working together. Even with other countries, start working. Even if we can get them a budget a little bit. Instead of just forcing it all at one time, it's not going to work. They're just going to fight back. If we start working together piece by piece, we can do this, guys, and fix everything. And I know James will agree with me on that one. He might have a different opinion of what I'm saying, but I think that we can fix this. So that being said, I thank you guys for joining us again for another awesome show. Hope you guys like this one. It's September now. Summer's winding down. It's almost fall. And you know what that means. Horror movies, Christmas, Thanksgiving, all that bullshit. So, I'm glad you guys joined us on ParaX Radio every Sunday nights at 12 Eastern a.m., 9 Pacific. Technically 3 hours different, so it's Sunday here and technically Monday morning there. Check us out on James Hershey's YouTube page. Subscribe. Check us out on Spotify. Check us out on a lot of independent radio station providers with podcast. YouTube, Facebook. You want merchandise? James will tell you where to go. I hope you guys have a good night. Misfits, Shigleys, Monster Lovers, and Demon Lovers. I love you and blessed be, and have a fucking awesome night and an awesome weekend.
Thank you, brother. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. I hope that you learned something. I hope that in some small way it inspired you to make a difference in the world, because every single one of us can. There's so much more I wanted to talk about tonight, but we just literally didn't have time. I mean, every town plants trees all through the town, all along the roadway to make it prettier. You know, you take those trees, instead of planting normal trees, you plant fruit trees. And then the people of town can just freely come and get fruit whenever they want. You create little mini food forests in your town. The same way you're beautifying your town with the trees, you do it with fruit trees instead. People that need the food can come get the food for free. A lot of people say you can't do that because who's going to clean up the mess? There's not going to be a whole lot of mess because people are going to come get the food. And every town has people that work for the town that go and they deal with the trees. They cut the grass. They do those kind of things in the town. They can just simply clean that mess up too. It's not complicated. But that'll make life better for a lot of people. There's a lot of little things like that I wanted to talk about that can absolutely change things. I just simply didn't have time. I might do some separate videos on the channel of youtube.com/James Hershey Jr. Go there, check out the YouTube channel, subscribe. I might do some more videos on different solutions to different things that we can do to make the world such a much better place. Because it's absolutely doable, guys. I love you. I appreciate you. I hope that you enjoyed this one. As always, it's up to you to make up your own mind. I love you. Till I speak to you again. Love many, trust few, and do harm to none. God loves you, and so do I. Bye-bye.